Okay, I am going to be reading something and filming while I read as the orbs go by, so I'm going to start it now. And what I'm going to read is from Walter Russell, the prelude to his book, The Universal One. The supreme service which man can render to evolving man is to answer for him dynamically the great heretofore unanswerable question concerning the one universal force which man calls God or mind, or by other names. For long ages, man has impatiently awaited the knowledge which would tear away the veil from the invisible universe, which lies beyond his perception, and bring it within the range of both his perception and his exact comprehension. Mathematical and measurable proof of the existence of but one mind, one force, and one substance would give to man absolute control over matter, the power to create, even as God creates, and within the same limitations. Man is omnipotent when he but knows his omnipotence. Until that day, he is but man. Voltaire said that man could never comprehend God, for man must be God to comprehend him. Man is God, and therefore God is within the comprehension of man. Man is mind. Man is matter. Mind and matter are one. God is mind. This is a universe of mind, a finite universe, limited as to cause and to the effect of cause. A universe of limitations cannot be infinite. There is no infinite universe. A finite universe in which the effects of cause are limited must also be limited as to cause. So when that measurable cause is known, then can man comprehend and measure all effects. The effects of cause are complex and mystify man, but cause itself is simple. The universe is a multiplicity of changing effects, of but one unchanging cause. All things are universal. Nothing is which is not universal. Nothing is of itself alone. Man and mind and all creating things are universal. No man can say, I alone am I. There is but one universe, one mind, one force, one substance. When man knows this in measurable exactness, then will he have no limitations within those which are universal. He will then know that all knowledge exists within man and is subject to his desire to recall it from within his inner mind. Knowledge is not acquired from without, but merely recollected from within. The recollection of knowledge from within is an electromagnetic process of thinking mind, which is as exactly under man's control as is the generation of the same power to turn a wheel. Man must think in light. His thinking must be in terms of the electromagnetic periodicities which measure all motion, for of such is he himself and nothing else. To know how to think in light from within is to open the doors of all knowledge. Omnipotence lies in perfect thinking. There is no power in this universe other than the energy of thinking mind. Thinking is the cause of motion, and the periodicities are states of motion caused by thinking. Caused by thinking mind are registered in light, which man calls matter. Matter is light. Nothing is which is not light. We are prone to think that this civilization of ours is an extremely advanced one. On the contrary, man of today is in an exceedingly primitive state of his evolution. He is a bearer of heavy burdens, sweating at heavy labor in the bowels of the earth because of his pitiful ignorance of universal power, which awaits only his knowledge to render it available for his free use. Knowledge of the one thing will lift the yoke which man has placed on his own shoulders. This knowledge is herein written down in the language of a new dynamic science of new concepts, which are measurable, which explain the heretofore unexplainable. Language is lacking in words to express new knowledge. Seemingly contradictory words must be used in the hope that the intent will be understood, by taking all that is herein written and putting it together rather than in trying to find comprehension through the analysis of a few inadequate words in isolated paragraphs. For all those questions which lie unanswered within the heart of man, there is a dynamic answer, such an answer as 2 and 2 makes 4. Faith and theory regarding the universal one need have no place in the thinking of man. They are wanderings in the dark. All things are answerable in light. The universe is a tonal one, a dimensionless universe of light. All nature is a series of orderly tonal periodicities of the one force, assembled into the complex ideal of thinking mind, and registered in light or matter or energy in interchanging potentials, all of which are variable, yet comprehensible and measurable states of motion of the one substance. All dimension is an illusion, an appearance due to rising potential, which must disappear into its inevitable sequence of lowering potential, and again appear in endless cycles of appearance, disappearance, and reappearance. Ecstatic man is he who can think in these high octaves of the inner mind, which have been termed spirit. Ecstatic man is inspired man of universal genius, of inner thinking. Inspired man is he to come whose thinking will be from within, in light, and it will be an ecstasy of thinking which will produce enduring things. That work which is created in ecstasy of inner thinking can alone endure. To think in light is not a new power being developed by evolving man. It is a power which is now within him, awaiting only his knowledge of the use of that power. It is merely the recognition by man of his absolute control of the many dimensions of the universal constant of energy, which constitutes the thinking process of mind, exactly as he can control the changing speeds of his motor car. When man can change the low speed of his objective thinking in this universe of dimension to the high speed of his inner thinking, where dimension disappears in light, then is he Superman, then is he universal genius. Light is a universal language in which the divine concept is plainly written. Fundamentally wrong in its basic premises and wasteful in its practice, man's modern concept of the universe must be torn down and built again on truth as plainly told in light. Primitive in his concepts, man divides the universe into the seen and the unseen, then finds himself groping in the dark, blindfolded, hopelessly trying to find the way to the door of the Holy of Holies. There is no unseen universe. The way to that innermost sanctuary of the Most High is as clearly posted as the Lincoln Highway, but man has not been able to read the plainly worded messages written all along the way in light. Man's most wonderful instruments, the spectroscope, has told him little, for he has not yet learned to read it. He does not know that those many lines of light are but letters of the alphabet of light, in which the Universal One registers his mighty thinking in the universal language of light. The spectrum of iron is to man naught but the spectrum of iron. To the cosmic import of those many glowing lines, he is indeed blind. Again, in helium, he reads the lines of helium's line as helium's lines, and sees not in them the plain story simply told of 6 new elements of vast import, awaiting man's use in the easing of his burden. And of those most important of the elements, which man calls the inert gases, nothing at all is known except that they will not combine with any other elements. Oh, the pity of it! Wrong concepts of the atom structure and the modern electric theory of energy and its transmission, of conductivity, radiation and gravitation, and of that electrochemical state of opposed motion called luminosity. All of these wrong concepts of motion and of matter must be remolded on truth. With truth comes knowledge, and with knowledge power to transmute at will and simply plentiful substances of matter into those which are the rarest to meet the needs of man. There is no substance which nature produces, which man cannot produce, or synthesize, or create from apparent nothingness, when he knows that which is herein written down and charted. Man's miracles of today become commonplace events of tomorrow. Civilizations come and go, exalted by man's thinking, or by it plunged into the abyss of darkened ages. This message is for all mankind and not for the few, for it is placing within his hands a power which could either glorify or frightfully enslave him in accord with the usage of that power. Either way it matters not, for in the end truth will survive and man will complete his destiny. Truth lives. There is naught but truth, and that which appears to be otherwise has no existence, and therefore is not, nor ever will be. Walter Russell. Now, I'm only at 13 minutes, so I'm not going to begin reading the first chapter of this book. That was the prelude, and you can tell just from that this subject of light, which is what I'm looking into by filming it, not knowing what I'm looking at or the why or all of this about it, still I'm fascinated by it. And I have had a message that came to me from Spirit written into a computer program that I would bring something out of the light, that the light was intelligent and it knew what I wanted. And then the message told me what it was I had said to it that I wanted. And it was something I just thought, I mused on it, but it was like a pipe dream. I thought, well, if I could just make something come out of the clear blue sky or come out of nothing, something from nothing. That's what we think space is. We think it's nothing, but it's not nothing. It's full of all this beautiful activity. All these pictures you see go by, these are taken in my living room or outdoors under the tree with the light shining through the tree. All of this stuff is all around us for our use. And we've got to get our minds wrapped around how to do it. And we have to let go and unlearn a lot of things. And so I'm going to begin reading this book. I've read it before. It's called The Universal One by Walter Russell. Now, it gets into a lot of science. And when I read it before, I didn't understand. I still don't understand all that it says. If I did, I would probably be bringing things out of nothing already. Do I think I will someday? Well, yeah, I do. Maybe that's crazy to some people, but it's the answer to everything. because we look at our world and it seems to be crumbling. Problems on every hand, pollution, lack, starvation, just wars, all kinds of things, all because we don't know how to use the energy that's all around us and which we ourselves are. And we can learn it. And I'm going to try to teach it. I'm going to do more than try. I'm going to read Walter Russell's book, The Universal One. And anyone can comment who understands what I will be reading, because I won't understand it all. I know I've already read this book, and it was like, wow, it gets deep, really deep into the science. But there are some of you out there listening who probably will understand it better than me. And if you want to comment, you're very much welcome. And I would appreciate it if you would. And I think I'm going to read it, and along with that, I'll be showing the different pictures of light that I've taken. You know, there's a theory that little strings attach everything. And Walter Russell says everything is indissolubly united. You can't even, you can say in this bar of iron, there is gold and silver and all things else. And he said in the sphere, there's the cube and the triangle and all other shapes. Everything is in everything. And I think I was listening to a scientific program where they were saying the proton is composed of every other proton. They're all within one proton. All of them have all the others within it. Now that is so tiny, I can't even express it, how tiny that would be. And that's how we have to think, because we're in this 3D world where things are either big or little, tiny or enormous. But we're dealing with spirit, and spirit isn't physical. So it doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter. Time isn't real like we think of it as real here. And big and smaller don't mean the same thing. And space doesn't mean the same thing. Because in spirit, everything is mind. It's God's mind and it's our mind. We can think with God's mind when we know that we can. It takes a bit of doing. But if you want to join me doing it, well, follow me. I will be reading this book, The Universal One. And maybe I'll do a better job of it this time. If you look in my on my YouTube site, you'll see The Universal One in my playlist. I have read it before. But I'm going to reread it. And I will listen to it over and over again until this sinks in. Because this is what we all need to know. This is the greatest subject ever. Light is the greatest subject ever. And to understand the atom, the tiniest thing within the atom,